I can't write kanji, but I passed the JLPT N2. Do you want to pass the JLPT, but have limited time to study? I'm here to help. I don't know why I'm being so corny, but let's get into it. I passed N2 in 2023, and through that chaotic experience, I realized there is a surprising list of things you don't actually need to study. I'm going to give you my ultimate don't do list, so you can stop wasting time and pass any level of the JLPT as soon as possible. Number 1, you don't have to handwrite kanji. I never really learned how to write kanji. When I first started studying Japanese, I did try to handwrite kanji, but I found it way too time-consuming, and I learned my time was better spent reading and learning new vocabulary instead. So yes, I passed N2 without being able to write words like Tuesday, winter, or red, but I can read them easily. And it's worth noting that you don't have to be able to write anything to pass N2. Just being able to read and differentiate kanji is enough. For similar kanji, I just group them together and use little memory tricks to tell them apart. I used Wanikani's memory aids for this, but you can Google ideas for free or just make your own. I would go as far as to say you don't need to know how to write tons of kanji for everyday life in Japan either. Of course, you should be able to write your address, but honestly, I live in Japan and I rarely need to write kanji by hand. As long as I can choose the right kanji on my phone or computer, I get by just fine. Plus, personally, I barely write on physical paper anymore, even in English, so I guess times are changing. And hey, Sailor Moon can't write kanji either, so I think I'm okay for now. Next thing you don't have to study. Number 2, you don't have to practice speaking, because there is no spoken section on the test, which is wild and kind of questionable, but that's just how it is. Personally, I found that speaking helps me remember certain words more easily, but for other people, writing kanji might be more effective. This is because we all have different learning styles. Well, I've never focused on speaking with using drills. I honestly love speaking Japanese, and because I live in Japan, I'm lucky enough that I'm able to use it every day. That said, speaking ability does not matter at all for the JLPT. And my spoken Japanese isn't flawless. I prefer to focus on communication over perfection. I figure the more I talk, the better I will get, eventually. As long as I can understand what's going on around me and make friends, that's good enough for me for now. So if you don't enjoy speaking or writing Japanese, you don't have to for the JLPT. But if your goal is to actually speak or be able to write kanji, yeah, of course you're going to have to practice those things eventually, but you don't need them for the JLPT. The third thing you don't have to do is, you don't have to go to classes. For 3 months, I took Japanese night classes twice a week in Japan, and upon reflection, going to classes was not a good use of my time or money, especially my money. It was really expensive. For me personally, Japanese night classes were very expensive and not as productive as studying on my own. I also notice I tend to do better when I study something I like and choose myself. In school, I only really did well in university or when I liked a subject. Otherwise, my grades were actual crap, like straight up failing level. So I'm not a model student. Classes can also feel like such a gamble. If you have a good teacher and classmates, that's great. You'll probably learn a lot and have a great time. But if not, it's just a waste of money, in my opinion. Anyways, if you learn well in a class setting, that's awesome. And I'm not gonna knock it. I'm envious. And I'm not gonna say you can't learn that way, because obviously some people do. However, you don't need to pay for expensive classes if you're able to motivate yourself and study on your own. And in my case, after 3 months of night classes, I was done with it. I quit. I found that immersion and doing flashcards was much more effective for me than classes. Studying on your own allows you to adjust your pace. You can slow down if you're confused, or speed up if you understand the material. You can also tailor studying around your interests. Like in my case, if I want to read manga for 3 hours after finishing my daily flashcards, that still counts as studying. Holy crap, I sound like super degenerate, eh? But anyways, number 4, you don't need to buy and complete a bunch of textbooks to pass the test. I tried to like textbooks. Look at all my textbooks. I actually have more. But no, I didn't complete any of them. Well, at least not to 100%. Holy crap, these are heavy. Ugh. One moment. If you want to hear my full opinion on these textbooks, check out this video after. But in short, the only textbooks that I think made a major difference and really helped me pass the JLPT were the Shin Kanzen Master Series books. These boys right here. So I'm not saying don't use any textbooks. I use these books, and they really helped me. But if I had to, I'm sure I could have passed without using any textbooks, and only free online resources. I know I now probably sound just like I'm dumping on textbooks, but I mean this in a positive way. I'm trying to stress that you can pass the JLPT with free resources. So you don't have to spend any money on textbooks unless you want to, and you really think they'll help. To be completely honest with you guys, I wanted to make "don't spend any money" a full point on this list. I was going to say, you can pass the JLPT for free. And while I do think that's true, it felt a little dishonest for me to say that because I used paid resources myself. So here's what I actually believe. You don't need to spend any money to pass, but the right resources can definitely help you get there faster. I actually have other videos breaking down the absolute best free resources available, so definitely check those out after this. You also don't have to 100% complete a textbook if you think it's not helping you anymore. I bought most of these, but I was also really lucky to receive some of these from friends who were finished with them. So I only continued to use textbooks that I really felt benefited me. Being a completionist or a perfectionist can be a good thing, but not when you have a limited amount of time. Then it can be a problem. Believe me, I know. Which brings me to my next point. Number 5. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to pass. For the test, it's important that you know the material and understand the test layout. The better you understand these two things, the better you will do on the test. With that said, you don't have to be perfect. Why are you taking the JLPT? Or why are you even studying Japanese in the first place? This is a really important question to ask yourself. If it's to get a job or to enroll in school, it's probably not going to matter what you actually got on the test, just whether if you passed or not. If you don't believe me, go look at some job postings in Japanese. Actually, because I'm nice, I'll do it for you. You can find jobs that require the JLPT by simply searching for it. As you can see, these postings aren't looking for a specific JLPT score. They just care whether you've passed or not. I also remember seeing some people online ask whether the JLPT is necessary to get a job in Japan. And yeah, based on these postings, some jobs do require it, but that's a different discussion. So let's go back to the important question. Why are you taking the JLPT? This is something I asked myself years ago too. I originally took the JLPT as a way to measure my progress and for job security in Japan. While studying on my own, I realized that if I didn't have a clear goal, I would lose direction and stop making progress. Studying to pass the JLPT forced me to study things that I often avoided and just didn't like very much, like grammar and reading long passages of text. But now, thanks to the JLPT giving me a direction to study, I can see my improvement over the years. I also learned that I really like reading novels in Japanese. If you are taking the test to check your own progress, sure, it would be cool to get perfect, but as long as you pass, you have reached your goal. A personal example of me throwing away perfection is that there are still some N2 grammar points that I struggle with. But I don't need to drill those over and over and over again until I get them 100% right 100% of the time. It only really matters if I can get them right most of the time. So I believed as long as I was comfortable with most of the N2 vocabulary, I would be fine. And I was, because I passed. If you're not familiar with this idea, you can also look into the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule basically means that by focusing on the most important parts of the test, you will get the best results. This might sound obvious, but a lot of people get caught up on chasing perfection and small details instead of focusing on what matters most. In short, work smart, not hard. If I keep immersing myself in Japanese, eventually I will remember those words and structures, if they are truly necessary for me to know them. This is the same way we learn our own native languages. And I believe we can learn Japanese in a fairly natural way as well. Now, why did I make this list in the first place? When I was studying for the JLPT, I felt overwhelmed by all the different advice online. It felt like everyone was shouting conflicting rules at me. Learn to write every kanji with proper stroke order. Speak every day. Wait, don't speak until your pitch accent is perfect. Buy this app. Take classes. Use that textbook. Read novels. And don't learn from anime. It's a lot, isn't it? So, depending on your goals, this could be good advice or not. But all that noise made language learning feel way more complicated than it actually is. So the point of this video isn't that these things are bad. I'm just saying, if you want to pass the test, trying to do everything will likely burn you out. Focus on what actually works for you. Do it consistently and keep it simple. At least, that's what helped me pass. And I genuinely think you can learn Japanese too, as long as you stick with it. I hope I don't make anyone angry by saying you don't need to write Japanese or be able to speak to pass the JLPT. But it's true. You could argue that being able to speak and write will help you pass the test, and I would agree, because actively using Japanese will help you remember Japanese. But you really don't need those skills to pass. To be honest, it really makes you wonder just how good of a test this even is. But I'll stop dumping on the test and move back to the main topic. I want to stress that this is my personal list. I'm really happy if you're able to find things that work for you, even if they didn't really work for me. Heck, I actually made this video because I want to help people pass the JLPT. So, I'm rooting for you. I'm no hater. As always, take what advice works for you and throw away the rest. Recently, I've actually kind of decided I want to learn how to write kanji, and I might make a video about that in the future. And I just kind of wanted to add that to say it's okay to change your goals as you move along. But yeah, right now, I still can't really write anything. But for the JLPT, you really don't need these things. If your goal is to pass the test as fast as possible, keep it simple and focus on what really matters. And now that you know what not to study, you might want a more positive what to study guide. And to see how I went from N5 to N2, feel free to check out this video next. Whether you're studying for the JLPT or not, it's full of advice I wish someone gave to me when I first started studying Japanese. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check out that video next. Or maybe this video is more your thing? See you there!